Okay, looks like we're up and running here, guys. Pineapple Express is on the thumbnail, and yeah, I'm here to give you guys an update on the snow conditions at Revelstoke here on Sunday, the 28th of January. It's 5 p.m. Pacific time here. So welcome everyone. Hope you guys have had a good weekend. Don't forget, if you are watching this as we're live, make sure to put your comments in the live chat there, and we can read them out. Any questions that you have there, I'm happy to answer them. Boy, have things changed here. Like January weather-wise here in Revelstoke, and I guess all across BC, is just turning into a real wild west situation. Just to kind of recap, if we go all the way back to the start of January, where we had a real severe cold snap for several days of like minus 25 in the village, minus 35 up top. After that brought some real good snow for a good week or so. We had consistent snow at all elevations, which was allowing us to open up a large amount of the terrain here, and you know, that made for some real good conditions, especially up in the bowls. But things have now taken a turn. It has warmed up significantly at all elevations, and that trend kind of looks like it's going to continue for the next 4 to 5 days. So if you're sort of traveling out to Canada and doing any skiing across a lot of these resorts, I think you're going to find similar conditions. The worst of it, from what I'm hearing, is going to be on the west coast. Like apparently a lot of the skiing on that side looks like it's going to get washed out. So yeah, we are not going to have that, but you know, we have a base right now on the top part of the mountain of 170 centimeters. So we're in a pretty good situation compared to a lot of other places. But I was up for half the day today, and it was like spring from top to bottom. We did actually have some fresh snow overnight. We actually had 10 centimeters up high, which, you know, as that was falling, I think was when the freezing level began to change. And so it was quite heavy up there, and yeah, it was fun for riding on the groomers for sure if you've got the big fat skis, but a lot of cloud and fog around, so visibility was kind of tricky. And yeah, this is the start of it. It's warming up even more. So what I'll do is I'll go through a little bit of what the snow report says on the resort website. It did say a powder day, but yeah, I mean, that fresh snow really with the changing in weather temperatures was not, yeah, it wasn't really powder out. It was very more spring riding, but relatively good fun. So it's been warming up through the day across all the terrain. The lower part of the resort was definitely starting to become quite patchy on some of the lower runs, because again, we've only sort of got a limited base down at the bottom there. So the forecast for the next sort of couple of days here, well, the freezing level today was above the top of the mountain at 2,300 meters. Now it does set to look like it's going to drop a little bit tonight to 1,500 meters, which I guess should allow, you know, the cats to go out and groom some of those runs, so that they are kind of ready. But then once again, heading into Monday, that freezing level is shooting very, very high. Right now, the forecast is for it to go up to 3,000 meters tomorrow. So if you're wondering what that means, it basically means that, look, if there was precipitation, everything underneath that would be rain. And we have had, you know, quite a lot of rain downtown in the last couple of days, with a little bit of the showers on the mountain today. That looks like it's going to be very similar to over the next couple of days. So I think, staying on the positive side, it doesn't look like there's going to be a significant amount of precipitation here that's going to wash away our base, but it is going to be incredibly warm. So tomorrow, a high of 4 in the Alpine. Similar thing on Tuesday. Freezing level of 2,400 meters, 2 millimeters of rain, high of 3. Strong winds gusting between 25 to 50 kilometers an hour as you head into Tuesday. And that freezing level again just seems to be sitting above 2,002. Wednesday saying 2,400 meters, Thursday saying 2,500 meters. Beyond that, at this stage, I'd say, look, take it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, next couple of days, at least through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're seeing really, really warm weather. So yeah, definitely want to maybe get the rain jacket out, but just try and stay as high as possible. Low vis goggles is definitely going to be the way to go, because with all of this cloud, there's going to be a lot of fog lying on different parts of the mountain. You may even get the odd bit of sunshine squeezed through, but it's definitely going to be warm all elevations. Now, looking long term, it does kind of look like things maybe are going to return to normal at the back end of next week. So potentially Friday and Saturday, it's saying that the Alpine temperatures are going to start to drop below negative, maybe -1, maybe -2, that freezing level coming down, and potentially some snow in the forecast. But I would recommend probably checking back a little bit later on in the week here, where hopefully we've got a little bit more of an accurate forecast there. But yeah, I was up there today. I did a little bit of a loop of the mountain, and just sort of to assess things. So I did. We were on the resort over on the Ripper Chair. Just did one of the groomers down there, which was actually rather nice. It was still relatively busy today. People were out there riding, and just making the most of what they could. The top half of the mountain on the Stoke Chair side, so Critical Path in particular, which I did, was actually really mogully. I'm not sure if they groomed that last night, but I think with the new snow that fell like late at night, early in the morning, that had kind of settled. And then when people started riding it, it was getting quite choppy. The best skiing on the mountain today was probably best place for skiing today was probably actually mid-mountain. The intermediate blue runs, the snow rodeo, and Fellabuncher, Woolly Bully. I did a couple of those, and you could really let rip. It was just sort of halfway down though, you were covered in fog, and yeah, I was wearing. At some points, it was actually better to take the goggles off and just ski without goggles. So yeah, it was. Sort of stop every so often, because then you'd hit a wall of fog and you'd sort of lose track of your skis, and you weren't kind of sure, and you might hit a little bit of a sluggish patch. But yeah, I didn't stay out more than lunchtime. So to be honest with you, I'm not inclined really to be going up tomorrow. But if things change, maybe. If anybody's got any questions, I know there's a couple of people watching live. Feel sure to get them in the live chat there. Keen to hear from anyone who's maybe planning to come out here, or who is visiting other resorts, and what the conditions are like there right now. As I said, like from what I hear, the West Coast especially is going to get really washed out. Places on like Vancouver Island, and I imagine Whistler's in that. I actually saw news today that somewhere down in the Caribou have basically called off their season. I can't remember what it is. There's a small resort somewhere, but they've basically just said, look, consistent warm temperatures along with either rain or a lack of snow has not enabled us to open. So they have cancelled their season. Just trying to see, where was it? So it was in the South Caribous, and it was a resort by the name of Mount Timothy. Now, I don't know much about that, but I think again that's sort of that southwest west coast area. And then yeah, they've just said, look, there's too much rock exposed and grass, and there's no chance of skiing. So they've called that off. It has definitely been a very unpredictable winter for everywhere in BC. Kind of recapping the start of the year, if you remember, we had to postpone our opening along with a lot of other resorts, especially on the west coast, like your Seymour, Cyprus, Grouse, all these different resorts. And even the normal kind of big resort like Whistler, I think, has got, less than half of its runs open around December time. And only when we started getting that real severe cold snap could a lot of resorts start working snowmaking machines. And then with the natural precipitation from snow that came after that, did things really start to be able to fully open. So for a lot of places, like, mountains weren't really fully open until middle of January, which is, sort of, I don't want to say unheard of, but it's a bit of a trend that is seeming, this warming trend is definitely happening. I mean, it was very similar start to last year. Looking across the pond to my friends over in Europe, it seems that even they've had a rocky couple of weeks as well. So yeah, we're all in the same boat. I know that the US seems to have kind of got hit a bit with some good snow, but nothing hugely. I haven't heard stories coming out of the US like we had last year with them over at Utah and Tahoe and all these places. So we're all in the boat here with sort of pouring rain. Freedom Rider has joined us. Great to hear from you again, bud. Thanks for joining the chat. Fernie absolutely poured rain all day today and visibility was really poor. The base is still decent, especially up high. There was 2 inbound avalanches today and I got there shortly after it happened. Whoa. Was everyone okay? Was there anybody involved in that? We've been following some of those avalanches apparently that took place over in Tahoe, which apparently quite near to where that documentary was. So yeah, avalanches have been happening. They were blasting massively today in the bowls. Lemming Line was shut all the morning, all day. I don't think they opened Lemming Line all day here. I was over on Ripper. There's probably some of the loudest explosions I've heard since being here. And I think you could actually hear the snow running off afterwards. So there's all these layers now. If you think about all these different changes in temperatures, it's like, I can't imagine what it's like if you're like an ACMG guide right now, or a heli guide, a cat skiing guide out there, and you're constantly trying to assess these conditions to get for clients. And yeah, there's just so much unpredictability. 2 inbound avalanches. Do you know how they were triggered? Touch wood, we've certainly not had anything in the Revelstoke area yet, but I think just sort of you chat a lot about the snowpack with the general public, like whether it's in that the public pool, in the sauna, and then Avalanche Canada is on our radio quite a bit, so they do a lot of briefings. And I hear that since that sharp spell, there's been a very the sharp cold spell with the sun formed like a hard sun crust, which prior to all of that, the warmer weather had helped mold the pack together a little bit more. But then we had this sharp spell. Then we had lots of fresh snow, which has probably brought about 60 to 70 centimeters fresh snow on top of that crust. And now with this sort of heavy rain, heavy wet snow, really warm temperatures, that weight on top of that snowpack, yeah, it's not one really to be going out anytime soon, I guess, and doing much of the backcountry, unless you're traveling really far north. Like, no one's flying, you can't do any heli skiing. No, I don't know what the cat skiing situations are like right now. But if it's this warm at all elevations, right, it's everyone's in the same boat. So yeah, we just got to keep our fingers crossed that this changes pretty soon and we get some good heavy snow and cold temperatures coming out of it, because it's crazy. No one was involved, but it was a steep ridge area that slid onto a pretty gentle blue run. Okay, so it actually came onto one of the inbound runs. At least 400 meters and triggered by the wet snowpack with huge chunks of snow come down. That's what you've now. So now I'm kind of thinking about like, okay, well, what are the bowls going to look like when things return to normal? Because if all of these, if we've been, if they were blasting today, for example, that, and you could, like I said, you could hear it. You could hear the snow running down those areas, which I think is like on the far side of Greeley down those couloirs. And yeah, I imagine that is going to have left a lot of heavy snow and rock sitting sort of lower down the runoff. Yeah, gosh, just a crazy winter so far, and all you can kind of do is like roll with the punches a bit, and just it's like it's nothing you can do about it. It's just Mother Nature. I'm sure that here in Fernie there will be a lot of closures tomorrow. Yeah. I did not hang around the afternoon here to see if there was going to be any, but my gut feeling tells me that if there is significant rain here, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to keep those lower sections open. I don't know. That's just my take on it. And because coming down near the end there, you could sort of start to see how low the base was on the low sections, because you could start to see some of the shoots and brown patches. And yeah, so even after all the weeks of cold weather and snow making lower down and the fresh snow, it sort of just such a sudden change in temperatures has made such a huge impact. And I've been really surprised to see how quickly things have all transitioned. But we are where we are. This is where I'm hoping Itz is maybe watching the chat, and then Itz can come and give us some long range forecasting and give us some good news. They closed the higher lifts at around 1:30 today after the slide. Yeah, I mean, safety, just a bit better be on the safe side, I guess, right? Yeah. I mean, everyone was out today here in Revelstoke. That was the thing, and it's really been surprised me. And I don't know if that's just, the number of visitors that were here and people wanted to make the most of it, because technically, like, Revelstoke is still probably got some of the most snow out of anywhere so far. And I wondered, with all these closures on the West Coast, if that's going to bring more people here as we go into February. But this is the crazy thing as well, is that actually we're right on the verge of what's like, the busy part of our season. Like, especially that second week in February, President's Week, and you got the family long weekend, and you get a lot of visitors from America fly out to Canada. Everybody on the Icon Pass, and then everybody in the valleys comes up here. Like, I don't know how things are down in the Okanagan resorts, like your Silver Stars and Big White and Sun Peaks. But yeah, I mean, if Fernie's been getting rained on, I mean, it was pouring out the window here in town this morning, and the only reason I went up was because I had work. So yeah, it was. Matteo Guillemette, thanks for watching, mate. Thanks for your comment. I will be at Revelstoke with my family during 1 week for the weekend of winter break, end of February. Do you think the conditions will be good? In a normal season, yes. In any normal season, 100%. Because February you tend to get a lot of good snow come through. Like last year, especially, we had 2 or 3 weekends of back-to-back snow around that busy period. But who knows, right? Gosh, if I had if I could predict the weather, I'd probably be quite a wealthy man, Matteo. But I'm going to say a normal season, yes, yeah, February is guaranteed snow. But what I would say to that is probably follow back. Come check in this time next week, because what we need to see now is what happens during and after this warm spell, because how much of an impact does this have on this warm spell? Does it have on the snow at different resorts? I think Revelstoke right now is in the best place. Like the top section of the mountain is, once it gets colder again, we'll go back to what we were, and the pisted runs are in tip-top condition, despite that, prior to this warming. Like, I've got a video coming out tomorrow, did first tracks midweek, and like some of the runs off the top there when the colder temperatures were there to groom were just sublime. So and we've had consistent snow since that really sharp spell. So, we've gone gradually from about 130, 140 centimeter base to all the way up to 170 centimeters. So, even if we did get a little bit of rain over the next couple of days, it's not going to wash out the top of our mountain. Lower sections, you might find some marginal conditions until we get new snow, but you can go high and still get some good snow. I think my shock and my concern is just of how the general trend has gone this year. Like, I was quite optimistic we'd have a good season after a low one last year, but it's sort of been two back-to-back seasons. But yeah, if you're coming end of February, Matteo, we do typically get good snow, but I don't know which one it is, whether it's an El Nino or El Nina. I'm not a weatherman, but whatever this system that's in place for this winter is bringing a lot of warm and wet weather to a lot of ski resorts. And if, you can have those years where you don't get a lot of snow, but it can still be cold and you can maybe make snow lower down. But if it's not cold, you can't make snow, right? But yeah, typically speaking, Matteo, I think you'll be okay. But thanks for commenting. And yeah, I keep checking in with these reports, because by next week, hopefully we'll go back to normal weather and I'll be out there and I'll be able to bring you guys a bit of a report. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be out skiing tomorrow. Might be a day of doing something else productive. Is anybody else coming to Revelstoke? Anybody else got any trips planned? Or has anybody else been skiing in BC? Freedom Rider was over in Fernie. Said it'd been pouring rain today. Matteo's planning to come to Revi a little later on in the year. Thanks. If you have to ski only one spot on the mountain, where or which run will it be for tourists like me here for the advanced skiing where I need to go? Okay. Matteo, are you talking about sort of powder, in the kind of like the powder bowls for kind of like your slack country, or do you want to know about like on piste? Because I'll tell you both. Which would you prefer? The answer to that question is hard, because there's not one place. I have like several places I really enjoy. And when you spend enough time here, you assess how the conditions are like on that morning, and then you make a judgment based on that. So, for example, like if I'm thinking I want to start the morning with a couple of good tree runs, I'm always gonna stick with like Tally-Ho Glades as a good warm-up one. Before then, maybe waiting for the patrol to open up Separate Reality and the North Bowl and Greedy Bowl, do a traverse. So I've done a lot of lemming line over into drop-in, over onto that north side, just to get to the powder bowls there. I've done a lot of traversing into there lately. And yeah, in the last video, I spent a lot of time on Gracias Ridge, which is in between the North Bowl and Greeley Bowl. I'm trying to avoid much of Greeley right now, primarily because at the bottom of Greeley you have a runoff, which is like a creek. And there's still sort of a stream flowing in there right now. There's just not been enough snow to kind of fill it up. So it's not as gnarly as it's been, but like seeing running water is quite there. But if you do Grassy Ass Ridge or North Bowl and then you hug round to the left, you can kind of get back round and come right onto the corner of one of the runs below the Ripper Chair. We prefer to stay in boundary. We don't have Avalanche stuff. Yeah, well, all of that I've just mentioned is in boundary. So the North Bowl would probably be a good place because it's nice and wide. So you've got these kind of narrow traverses. So if you're coming to Revelstoke and you go on the Stoke Chair, that's the highest chair on the mountain, you'll notice as you come up on your left that there's a lot of people traversing across the mountain. So they're going across Separate Reality. Like you could go down the Separate Reality Bowl and enjoy some real good fun stuff in there, or you can traverse round and go across to Vertigo Ridge, which is on the edge. So there's a couple of sections there. Vertigo Ridge is good, lots of trees, mixture of like trees that are close together, mixture of wide ones. Or like I say, you keep pushing around and you drop in via either like Meet the Neighbors, Sweet Spot. These all kind of take you into North Bowl. The highest ones would be like, highest ones would be sort of your drop in. You can even do a little hike off the sub peak. You may notice people above the Stoke Chair hiking, and that just gets them right onto the top where they can then drop down at the highest point. And there's a good run there called Powder Assault, which I would recommend if you're into that type of stuff. But our stuff to powder or free ride, okay. We have our stuff for powder and free ride skiing. Nice, yeah. So hopefully that answers your questions. But yeah, good stuff. That's all inbounds. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. ZZ, how many Zs is that? Oh, that's a lot of Zs. 6 Zs. Going to Revelstoke mid-February, praying for some good weather. Either way, it'll be hard not to have a good time. For sure, man. Like, you know, the beauty of that little town is there's so many things to do as well off the mountain. The hockey, go to sort of any of the local stuff in town. There's so many great little bars and restaurants as well. So yeah, there's going to be a good time either way. But we're all praying for some good snow. And again, I'm always an optimist. Based off how things have gone previously, February is typically a snowy month. And there is still so long left in this winter, right? And because of what we do have, you know, it would only take, I think, like going back to cold weather and then giving a fresh 15-20 centimeters, and then we'll be right back to normal here. You know, I mean, if you're coming mid-Feb, it's probably going to be relatively busy, but I also wonder how many people are kind of like being cautious right now about their trips, especially if they're overseas or from America. Bence Allender, I'll be there to snowboard on Feb the 2nd to the 7th. I'm hoping the snow will be okay after the rain. Yeah, I mean, the good news about today was actually there wasn't too much rain on the mountain. It was just very, very warm. And the way you could tell that the most was actually the all the snow on the trees was just like falling off, and like we've had weeks of, you know, the sharp cold and the heavy snow, so you had that beautiful like British Columbia like thick snow stuck to these tall pine trees, and that today all you can hear and see is just like massive amounts of snow falling off the trees. So I'm kind of glad I didn't go in the glades today, because I came out soaked regardless today. But if you'd been in there and you got hit by a big lump of snow, you know, and who knows what that might be doing to the base of snow around the trees as well, right? You got to think about tree wells. So I don't know. Yeah, I'll gonna just hold off there. But yeah, I mean, 28th is today, Feb 2nd. That's going to be sort of middle to late next week, right? So that's when I think we're coming out to the last of this warming spell, Bence. Yeah, second is sort of Friday, Saturday, where things do look to be getting colder. So fingers crossed for you when you come that, yeah, things start to return to normal. And potentially it's saying right now in our forecast that maybe 6 centimeters on Saturday, so they might start the ball rolling. But like I say, with Revelstoke, you gotta hold anything beyond 48 hours, just expect that forecast to change. So yeah, great questions, guys. Keep it coming. One of the things I really want to be bringing you guys a little on the second half of this winter is more stuff about the backcountry and getting into the touring. I've talked a little bit with it before on past live streams and posted updates, and yeah, I've been building up my gear. The difficulty of the last couple of weeks has actually been finding space on Avalanche safety training courses for level 1, but I think I might have finally found some space over the coming weeks. So yeah, I might be finally booking on something on that. So that'll be exciting because the skis are now all set up. I've got the new bindings on the brand new skis for touring. The boots are all ready to go, and I've been meeting people who are keen to go out. Is it pretty cold in Revelstoke too? Heard Whistler is super cold recently. No, not right now. It was about 10 days ago where we had a period of severe cold where it was like minus 25 in the town, in the village, which is at an altitude of 500 meters. And then on the mountain, it was like minus 35 plus wind chill. So that was challenging. That was real challenging. That was for sure. But that was a little while ago now. That feels like an age ago because after that came a lot of snow. But that cold affected a lot of other places. But no, now we're in this real warm trend. Like it's raining downtown right now. It's 4 degrees right now on the mountain. The freezing level is above 2,300 meters, and there's this forecast which is like similar for the next few days. So yeah, if you missed the start of this stream, basically things kind of feel like we're skiing in spring right now. Luckily, although it looks like it's set to be warm over the next couple of days, it doesn't look like there's too much rain. I just think maybe with that warmer temperature, it is going to thaw a lot of the lower part of the mountain, which doesn't have a strong snow base. So yeah, I mean the resort will be assessing that, right? And that, if there's changes to what's open, they'll post on it, but everything is still open. Yeah, I'll make a judgment call tomorrow on whether I'm going to go out, but I'm not. I don't think so. Matteo says, worst place to go skiing in Revi. Where's the worst place to go skiing in Revi? Place that looks fun but aren't. Well, if you watch the last video, the last run of the day I did was directly below the Stoke chair, and it was kind of like to the left of a run called Conifers of Narnavia, but it wasn't quite left enough where I wanted to go, where there was going to be wide enough trees. And it was quite a technical area. So through a gate. So you don't go in there unless you mean to. But if you're not up to the challenge, I mean, the hardest run on the mountain is Kill the Banker, which is directly below the gondola. But I really would not recommend that right now. There's not a lot of places where I would say on the mountain it's the worst. Like, like there's not somewhere where I would actively tell someone to not go. It's more just sort of you tailor it to what your ability is, right? And like I said before, when you spend enough time there, you learn what parts of the mountain are going to be good on certain days. So, for example, if there's heavy snow and the wind was coming from the south, which it does a lot of the time, you know that there's always going to be more snow in the north side on the Ripper Chair because that snow blows in there. So when you look on the resort webcam, where Norm the garden gnome is there, like he's always got that extra bit of snow because the snow is blowing into there. And so a lot of the good areas is the trees in the Ripper Chair, which is just below the North Pole. So you can start off by traversing round to North Pole and then riding it down and lapping there. But South Pole is also generally good because the trees capture any of that snow from the wind that's blowing. I guess you just play it by ear on what the weather is doing on that day, because again, like you can have a situation whereby the cloud is like sitting around mid-mountain, and you pop up and there's some good, it's clear skies. For example, you got your Revelstoke inversion. But on the other side, sometimes actually mid-mountain groomers are a good one to do, good pisted runs. Choice Sam 20, I see. Thank you for answering. No, pleasure. Yeah, we always get that sharp spell and then it brings snow, but yeah, it doesn't typically then come with a warm patch afterwards. Like people were talking about this warm spell this time last week and I didn't believe it. I was like, I don't believe that we can go from -25, then have constant heavy snow and then go to this within a matter of like 2 weeks. I just didn't believe it. Sweet, thanks. I'm looking forward to snowboarding in Canada for the first time. Nice. Yeah, I'm hoping it's good for you when you come out here on Feb the 2nd. Where are you from, Benz? Where do you usually ski then? Where are the best cliffs to jump? Ooh. There's one or two good fun little hits off the top section of South Bowl, which you can access from the sub peak, or just traversing across, and then it brings you down below Hot Sauce and Jalapeno, which are in boundaries. Again, like Gracias Ridge, which I did, there's some good little couloirs, and there are some stuff in there which you can hit as a good playful area. You're always going to find stuff in the trees as well, that are inbound, especially on some of the lower sections of Ripper. Yeah. I've once been to China Peak in California, but I'm coming from Florida. Oh, nice. Okay. I haven't been to California, so I can't really sort of comment on what I guess the compare and contrast would be like. But the biggest thing that gets first time visitors here at Revelstoke is the vertical. So it's the steepness of a lot of these runs. If you can ski these runs here, I would, on the piste, I feel like you can ski at a lot of different resorts. It's what I kind of say to people who are trying to learn to ski here. But if the steep stuff is not your cup of tea, then there are some real good intermediate pisted runs on the middle section of the mountain. There's some real good blue runs to let rip, and they're wide and nice roller coasters, which are often very, very empty. Do you know what I mean? I love a good power day. I love going in the bowls. I love like a real hard day on the legs, but I also love to let rip on those groomers from time to time. And yeah, if the conditions are correct, the snow here is very, very soft. The sheer amount of trees will be pretty surprising to you, and everything in bounds that is trees, and it's all skiable, and it all eventually will bring you back down to a chair. Little over 3,100 acres of skiable terrain from only a handful of lifts, one gondola, and then 3 chairs. And the 2 main chairs would be the Stoke chair and the Ripper chair. So the Ripper chair is on the north side, Stoke is mainly on the south side. And yeah, you get up there and you just spread out, to be honest. February will typically be busy, especially that middle week in February. That's normally our busiest. But yeah. I met some people from Carolina last year while heli skiing. So there's a few from their area. What's it like to travel there from Florida? I don't know what would you do? Would you fly into Seattle and then go into somewhere else, or would you go to Vancouver and then come into Kelowna? Tree skiing off the Ripper chair is really good for sure. Like there was that day a few weeks back on the video where I just decided to do a different one of the glades all day. I just stuck in the Ripper, and that was good. Like I remember last year, my confidence in the Ripper area was kind of knocked early season because you could see so much of these lying trees, but bit by bit it kind of got better, and yeah, I've enjoyed being in there quite a lot. It's still not normal, but back 40 glades, gosh, there was some deep stuff in there a few weeks ago before all of this warm stuff. And actually near that creek where there is a little bit of a cat track, apparently you can go touring off that section there, which I was chatting to someone else about the other day. So sort of around the backside near the base of the Greedy Bowl area there, which has piqued my curiosity as a potential place to maybe start off. I definitely at some point want to go touring off the side of Montana Bowl with the, once I've done the right thing, the sort of the, become more knowledgeable. And Rogers Pass is definitely on my list. Like I definitely want to do at least 1 or 2. Ideally, Baloo Pass would be a good one, and then maybe, I don't know, I'd love to do a hut, but we'll see. And I know I talked about all in the run up to the season, I was talking about doing a trip to Red or Whitewater, but I can't see that happening at this stage now. Like as far as their conditions out there are nowhere near better, so I'm not gonna sort of do that, make that journey that far. I'd much rather stay close where I know things are going to be the best. So, Bent, you're flying from Florida to Atlanta, Georgia, to Calgary, and then to Kelowna, about 10 hours flying. Eesh. Well, you're making the right choice by doing that extra bit to Kelowna. Like, I know it might seem like maybe a little bit unnecessary, but like driving from Calgary to Revelstoke is just a recipe for disaster. I mean, it's a minimum 5 hours in a normal situation, but if it's snowing, like on Rogers Pass, they'll just shut that down, due to avalanches all the time, and it's like you'd be looking at several hours, possibly even losing a day skiing. So the flight to Kelowna is definitely worth it, although it might be a bit bumpy because you're going over the mountains. But yeah, then it's only a little over 2.5 hours drive into Revi from there, and it's a lot better. Do people smoke weed on the mountain asking for a friend? Yeah, some people do. I mean, look, I'm not, I'm British. Like it's illegal back from where I come from, so it's not really something I've partaked in. That's not me. It's not who I am really. So I don't really hang out with anyone who kind of does that type of thing. But yeah, you said people do it. I mean, it's it's liberal out here, right? And people are pretty happy by that. But yeah, they do on the mountain, I think. That's just my Britishness is like immediately feeling awkward answering that question because I literally know nothing about it. And yeah, that's Canada. Yeah, it is. It's legal in Canada. Yeah, plenty of shops in town, plenty that deliver and all of that type of stuff. So yeah, there's an abundance of it in town. I don't like hearing the sound of rain outside my window. And that's what I'm hearing. I'm seeing green grass earlier and lower down and the snow receding. So yeah, just gotta hope it changes soon. So we've had Bents over from Florida today and Freedom Riders over in Fernie. Where else is everybody else calling from today, guys? Where's home for you guys, and where are you where are your eyes casting on Revy? Like, I'm expecting quite a few people from America to come as we get into February, especially as the holiday period starts. How's the wildlife out there right now? I once ran into a bear outside the police station when I was there a few summers ago. It was pretty interesting. Yeah, they come into the town here. Especially the black bears. There's a lot of couple of bear families that are around. I mean, I actually came face to face with one while hiking Kill the Banker this summer. It was like a mama bear and her 3 cubs, and that definitely had the heart rate going for a little while. But they're pretty quiet. You know, they're in hibernation. Although I hope this warm weather doesn't wake them up. And I was hearing bird life today on the mountain, which sounded like the type of thing you'd hear in spring. So that was a little weird. And I did see, what was it? Not like I don't know if it's like a ferret or something like that. It's like a Canadian ferret of some sort. And I actually saw that while skiing on the mountain the other day. It was dead weird. I was like coming around this corner and I saw this little face on the side of the mountain, just on where the drop off was. And it was like there. And I looked and then he sort of popped down, and that was quite interesting to see. Water-wise, I mean, it's all pretty frozen right now in a lot of areas, so I've not really seen anything there. Yeah, I mean, in terms of local wildlife, everyone's out walking their dogs right now. Have any of the shops or restaurants opened in Mackenzie Village yet? No. Other than the liquor store, is there something going in? Oh, this is going to annoy me because I was talking to this with a buddy the other day. But no, short answer, no. Nothing's opened up in there yet. I think if anything is probably going to open up, it's probably going to be spring at this point. Not really heard. There's not normally they would announce, right, like, okay, which shop's moving into where and that type of thing. And yeah, there's not been anything. And nothing other new in town right now. I mean, there was an old newsagents which closed down in the summer, and it got bought out, and it's been like the windows have all been papered up, and you can hear kind of work ongoing in there. So there's definitely something that been done in there, but no one has any idea what that's going to be. I mean, it'd be great if it was another pub or a place to go eat, but yeah, no idea. I've not really heard anything. Freedom Rider, I'm just looking at a couple of the cams from Fernie from today, and yeah, it looks very similar to what we had. You know, that fog and just that wet and cloudiness sitting there. Yeah, gosh. Just need everybody to start doing their snow dances again, eh? We've let off from our snow dances. I'm coming from Ottawa, Ontario, doing Kicking Horse, then Revelstoke, and there isn't much out this way to prep for the mountains. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that, you know, quite a lot of the people from the east fly out this way. But Kicking Horse is a slightly different mountain to us, so there'd be a nice variety for you. Yeah, I don't know how they're doing, actually. Let's do a quick Google, see how are they doing. I don't know, because it's on that side of the mountain, right? So on the other side of the Rockies. So do they have a little bit more? Well, they've got a base of 120 centimeters. and the high part of the mountain has been kind of cold today with some showers, but then Monday is also looking like Monday, Tuesday is definitely warm. Similar trend on that side of the mountains basically as well over the next few days. So yeah. But man, Kicking Horse has only had 300 centimeters this year so far. That's not a lot. A lot of other places have had like 400. I think we just hit 500 centimeters for the season in terms of like a cumulative. Whether we're going to get double that, I don't know. I don't know. We finished on about 9. I think it was 9 or just below that, 900 centimeters last year. You know, was one of our lowest. So yeah, could be quite similar. But I mean, if February and March kicked into gear like it did last year, it could shape up for a big year, big second half of the season again, like another season of two halves. 450 centimeters so far in Fernie. What's the average for Fernie, by the way? What do they usually get out there? Usually around 15 meters. Whoa. Whoa, that's a lot. What's it like as a town, though? Is it any different from Revelstoke, or is it kind of like that similar, small mountain town vibe? Like I was chatting about this with someone the other day about American resorts, and someone really recommended to go. Said, "Oh, if you like Revelstoke, you like Alta." Apparently, that's one to go. I'm just seeing a news article about a chairlift in Big White seizing up yesterday and people having to be evacuated from the lift. Which lift is that? Black Forest chairlift at Big White. So they had to be evacuated from the lift. Eesh. Don't want to ever have to go through that. I don't know if anyone's ever been in that. Sorry, it's more like 9 meters. Okay. Do you carry a beacon with you at Revelstoke? I don't. At this point, I've not carried a beacon inbounds at Revelstoke. When I always go into the bowls, North Bowl and Greeley Bowl, the terrain that you ski on predominantly is not at a steep gradient where you could trigger anything, and they only let you in there once they've done the correct safety assessments on the sort of the avalanche risk areas, which is more on the far side of Greeley Bowl where the chutes are, and the higher up part maybe of somewhere like Powder Assault, for example, on the sub peak. So I won't go in there anyway until it's safe to do so. And I've sort of never been in there and felt like you're in terrain where something can happen. Now, if you were to go off the backcountry on the south side of the mountain over towards Montana Bowl, which is a designated, it's not a patrolled area. Yes, I would take gear. I've got gear, and I will use it, especially when I start doing more backcountry. But my priority, first of all, is to educate myself on the safety of being out in the backcountry. You know, I've done a couple of tourings in Europe, and I've done a couple of the heli skiing out here. And really, when they do training for you there, it feels very basic. You know, it's pretty much about, like, you know, how to use the transceiver and how to use the shovel, the probe in the correct way when you're looking for someone, and then how to actually shovel as a team, and this and that, which is all very, very good. But I'm also curious to know a little bit more about the parameters of how to judge snow when you're out in the backcountry. Do you know what I mean? Like, how to judge a certain gradient of run and the look of the snow, you know. And you see everybody do those sort of tests where you dig into the snow and you look at the layers. So I'm quite eager to get into that and understand it and try and educate myself more before I start doing some more sort of challenging terrain off in the backcountry. And when I do eventually do that, I'm not going to be doing it on my own. I want to be doing it with groups of people who are also of a similar ability, maybe have a bit more experience of that area. But it is big. It's hugely popular backcountry touring here, and the general acknowledged advice among the locals is do your AST1 to get things going. So, you know, that is it's not a thing which people say, oh, you can just bypass and go out with a bunch of friends. You know, people come here and they are advanced skiers, they are expert skiers, but they also respect the mountain. Fernie is a little bit larger and more developed than Revi, more shops and restaurants. The scenery around the town is more dramatic, so big peaks than Revi, but a very pretty main street. Nice. Yeah, the peaks are not, I mean, we're in the middle of the Columbia River, right? And you've got all these mountains around us, but they're a little bit sort of, I mean, you don't feel like, maybe Mount Begbie and McPherson you feel like you can touch, but they are, on the other side of the river. Guys, I got to wrap it up here shortly. So I'm just wondering if anybody has any more questions for tonight. Great chat. Pray for snow. 100%, man. Thanks for joining. I appreciate everyone who's commented in today. Freedom Rider, Benz, Z, Choice 20, Mateo. Thanks, guys, for everyone who's commented. If you're watching this after it's finished live, just comment in the regular chat section, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But yeah, appreciate everybody for chiming in tonight. And yeah, let's all pray for snow. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. Please do. We're nearing 2,000, slowly but surely. Hoping we can get there soon. But yeah, thanks very much, guys. And there is a vlog coming out tomorrow. A little bit of a one from a special day during last week. So have a good one, guys, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.